Good afternoon. My name is Niko House, host of the political radio show Mikasa Sukasa, which you can catch here on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, awakeradio.us, or iHeartRadio at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Times. And today, we need to talk a little bit more about Michael Flynn, Donald Trump, surprisingly enough, Hillary Clinton, and I'll explain why in a second, the Republican Party, this Russian dossier, and the wild card that no one has seemed to question, simply because, once again, the mainstream media has failed to question it. The wild card, former MI6 agent, Steele. There have been a lot of questions that no one, for whatever reason, has seemed to ask. And I would like to start out with who the hell is Steele? Why is a former MI6 agent interfering with United States politics? You know, it's funny, there's always a story behind that, right? But no one likes to tell you the story. So here, we're going to give you the story. So in September of 2015, turns out Republicans got pretty scared. They felt, which they should have, that Trump was going to run the table on them. So they hired and financed the RNC. Yes, the RNC financed a campaign essentially to get opposition research against President Trump through a private company called Fusion GPS. That was the name of it, Fusion GPS. You can look them up. They're in DC. They were established in 2009. Now, there wasn't really, obviously, this is what the scary part is. So we're going to delve a little bit into this. This is the scary part. They didn't find anything. They didn't find anything. They didn't. If you all recall, you were there. I was there. They just kept getting smacked and then beat and smacked and beat in every single state to the point where it wasn't even a competition anymore. However, you know how Hillary Clinton and Podesta are connected to the Republicans. You know, they all have, at the end of the day, the establishment has the same goals. So guess who decided to take over this investigation, or this opposition research financing? That is correct, the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party also used Fusion GPS, and through Fusion GPS hired a private former MI6 investigator whose specialty just happens to be Russia. Now, this does not happen, surprisingly enough, until after the convention, before the claims between Russia and Trump were linked. Now, understand something, and this is something that needs to be understood. Steele's name was not mentioned at all until very, very, very recently. And it is not like Steele is some random MI6 agent who just, you know, he just happens to be a former spy and then like we just draft him because he happens to have a private firm. No, this is, if you research Steele, which a lot of people have not yet, he is that guy, right? And so if at the beginning they had this type of information that could lead to blackmail, which I don't think is actually important, but I'll get into that in a second. They had this type of information that could lead to blackmail against Trump in July, August, September, hell, even November. But they didn't. Let's be very clear. They didn't. Now, why did they not? Because he was still in the process of trying to figure out what it was. Okay, like he had Russian ties. He used to be he was an MI6 agent that was like stationed in Russia, so he has ties. The MI6 agent Steele does. So he was in the process of gathering this information, but they were telling you before any information got actually concretely assembled and was proven factual, which still actually hasn't been proven factual, but that's a different discussion. The Democratic Party was gaslighting you. They were alarming you. They were throwing Russia, preparing you for this very moment. This is what we call psychological operations, just in case. For anybody who's never been in the military or in, intelligence, this is psychological operations. They gaslighted you so much that this MI6 agent releases a dossier. And literally all the dossier says is Trump could be possibly blackmailed by Russia. I'm going to be completely and totally honest with you. I'm not apathetic. I just don't give a damn. And why don't I give a damn? Because there is almost, given that we just had a big oil president in George W. Bush, given that we just had a president who made someone with ridiculous connections to Russia, in John Podesta, his chief of staff pretty much his last 4 years there. Given what we know about Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, I mean, given what we know about George H.W., like everybody at some point has probably had connections to Russia that Russia could use to blackmail. Damn, not Russia. Let's not even talk about Russia. How about Saudi Arabia? Let's talk about a favor for a favor. If you're truly worried about a favor for a favor, let's talk about the connections, the thorough connections to Saudi Arabia that all these same people have. Let's talk about all the thorough connections to Israel that these same people. Like, we could go on legitimately 4 days about people who are politicians in high positions that could be blackmailed by another damn country. That's pretty easy to do. Let's be very clear about that. Blackmail is not what the Democrats promised you, but they yelled Russia so much that by the time you got to it, y'all were looking for anything that said Trump is linked to Russia, which nobody even denied at any point. So now you have to ask yourself, what exactly do the Democrats want? What are they mad at? What are progressives mad at? Well, not all progressives, but what are the establishment, leftist, alarmist progressives mad at? What are you upset at? This is why I ask. Because at first, y'all were claiming that WikiLeaks, first it was Gucci for two. Gucci for two leaks. It was Russia who did that, which wasn't true. It wasn't true. Then y'all were saying WikiLeaks is responsible for it, but it wasn't. That was definitely Seth Rich. Associate came out and confirmed that. Other people also gave information. They were all people who had access to this information. All of them. And by the way, Julian Assange was completely exonerated from all ties to Russia. So there's that, and all hacking charges made by the United States. So there's that also. But, you also said, okay, now we've moved on. So then it was Russia is trying to hack the election, which if anybody knows anything about elections, that's not how elections work. You can't do that. You can't just hack. You have to work at the precinct level up. And you had to have a lot of influence all over the country, essentially, is what they would need to hack. And they said Putin was the one behind this. Completely unsubstantiated. Hasn't been proven yet at all, even a little bit. Not once. Not at all. Then they say an anonymous tip told us that Putin hacked the election. Then an anonymous tip tells us that Trump works with Russia or has ties with Russia, which we already knew. It was anonymous, and now it's literally, we're at the point where Russia could possibly blackmail Trump. And, okay, what's your point? Because this is why I asked, what do the Democrats actually care about? Because let's talk about blackmail. Let's see who's more blackmailable. How about the woman who's running a foundation that is literally only there to money launder? How about the woman that was responsible for the approval of 20% of our uranium through her State Department connections, which she profited off of, which Bill Clinton got a $500,000 speaking bonus from Russia? How about the woman who's picked chief of staff and former campaign manager? still has shares in Russian resources, a Russian energy company, whose bank, Russia's federal bank, is a client of one of his nonprofits, John Podesta's. I mean, we could go on for days if we're using this is because this is why, because it sparked with Flynn, and then people are making all sorts of outlandish, ridiculous claims. This is the sensationalism and alarmism I'm always talking about. It's scary. It's like a Red Scare type of state where people legitimately think that blackmail, the ability to blackmail a president or any political official, is new. But you're talking about Trump, whose the worst thing he said thus far in regards to Russia is that he was going to lift the sanctions, and then the dossier comes out and says, oh no, because remember at first Obama and all the Democrats and all the leftist media was saying that Putin and Trump were friends, and that's why he was helping him. And now it's, oh yeah, Putin has a bunch of blackmail on Donald Trump. Where was that blackmail at when the Republicans had initially started this opposition research? This isn't the Democrats. When they took over the financing and started directing the attack. They went and found someone who has been bolstered by both the British government and the American government. They knew exactly who to go to find anything they needed to about Donald Trump. But guess what? Guess what this MI6 agent who is acting as a private investigator, who has no interest in being completely and totally objective, is not telling you about? What he is not talking about at all. There's no dossier whatsoever about Hillary Clinton. Because guess what? Of course you're not going to put out a dossier about Hillary Clinton. And of course you're not going to put out a dossier until Donald Trump is already inaugurated, 2 months into his presidency. And of course you're not going to put out a dossier on Donald Trump before the election is over. Why? Because then guess what the very next step is going to be? Because the Republicans do not like Hillary Clinton, they are then going to hire that same guy because he is private. He has no objectivity in his fiduciary responsibility to get you whatever information you ask for, and he's going to get his money. If the Republicans then go to the same guy, the same Steele, they're going to find even more information on Hillary Clinton and Podesta, who are linked to the Kremlin, who are linked to the Federal Bank of Russia, who are linked to an energy company, who are linked to uranium, suspicious uranium cells, who are linked to the Clinton Foundation. That's why you don't hear about Steele until after. You don't hear about Steele until after the election is over, until after the inauguration. Because Democrats don't want you to know who they've hired. Because that's what they do. The Democrats don't even know what they want. There's 50 different convenient narratives. If you look at the chronological order of the narrative, they don't even make any sense. And it's 50 narratives about what they are claiming Russia, Putin, Trump, and the relationship between the three are. And this entire time, they never acknowledge Hillary's potential conflict of interest. Let's be very clear, the establishment is working, and we don't know in what way yet, but they are working, and that needs to be understood. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment below. Have a fantastic day. And remember, find your balance.